Well, hello everyone. I'm Sean McClanahan, and this is Lenise Alexandra. And today we're going to be interviewing this exceptional artist and person that's going to change the world by her art. We're going to really find out and delve into her mind and see what her goals and her aspirations, and how she's going to help everyone watching this video change and become more spiritually minded, maybe, or just have more bliss and be more grateful in life. So, let's begin.
We'll see how it goes. Well, I know when I make time to meditate, it's in those good days when I'm remembering to, be at peace and be in the present moment. Although, like yesterday, I did not practice meditation, so I was not in that state yesterday.
Isn't it funny? Those are the days that we need it the most, and that's the days that we push it off the most.
I know, I don't have time, like the immoral excuse, I don't have time.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny. We're so funny.
Yeah, we don't have time, but that's all we have. It's now, so.
And what could be more worth it than remembering to be here now,
And it is a process of learning and changing your habits into making it a regular habit of doing it. And it does take time, and your body doesn't like it because it's not used to it. So it rejects it as much as it can, but as you progress towards that, pretty soon you'll look back and think, wow, I do it all the time now. It's easy to do it. Why wasn't it easy 5 years ago?
Well, that's how I feel about exercise now, because I've never ever been a person to move ever in my whole life until after I gave birth to Avalon and I started exercising. And now, like, if I don't, I feel all cramped up, or I'm just like, how all those years did I just sit around on the couch? Like, how was that? God, it must have felt awful.
Now, when you started how long have you been exercising then?
Oh, she's 3, so 3 years.
3 years, yeah. Because it usually takes, a lot of people say it takes 28 days for a habit to form.
Yeah.
But really, I think it takes, depending on what the thing is, it takes a good 6 months. And then if you can make it through the 6 months, then it's more of a habit. So then, like, your exercise, once you keep it up, then it's in your body, and you can't release it unless you start a different habit that counteracts it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
So now you exercise every day, or all through the week, or?
Yeah, I mean, I try to. I've been doing yoga on, well, now I gotta start doing it on Wednesdays. And I'd really like, because I've been doing yoga for a very long time, but I used to only be able to do it with the TV.
Oh, yeah?
So now I really like yoga. And what's the thing about...
Do you go to a class now, or?
Yeah, there's a class at Denison that I go to, and it's interesting. Well, with anything, when you first start, it's kind of stressful, because you're like, okay, what are we doing now? You're trying to look over at the instructor, like, how am I supposed to hold my legs, and yoga is all, meditation and movement simultaneously, and so.
I haven't done yoga, but I do want to start doing some.
Oh my God.
I've seen it, read it about it and stuff, but I haven't really. But people, like you have said that it's great.
Well, yeah. Well, once you start getting used to it, to the point where you already know where the pose is and everything, and you can let that go. I'm still getting there. I'm still like just getting used to the movements and everything, and the flow of everything. Then that's when you can, let your mind go and make it a meditative practice as well. But
do you feel the movements with your mind is a really it's a good thing? I mean, it helps with the body and the mind connection. It helps you meditate.
Well, at times, because I'm still working on it.
Oh,
but there are times when I'm really in the flow, and because it's all about the breathing, and when you are only concentrated on the breathing, and breathing in the life and letting it flow, and along with your body letting it flow, or holding a pose, and I mean, it's amazing how much balance and breathing connects, as well as with an empty mind. Like when you're in a balanced pose and you're just, I love how, my yoga instructor talks about rooting your feet to the ground, you know, and letting every single toe touch the ground and every area of your foot hold to the ground as if you were a tree, like in tree pose, for example.
Yeah.
And then just letting the breath move through you, and you become kind of like in meditation. You start to feel like you are just this solid form with a spirit moving around within it.
So you can feel the like the energy or the spirit flowing through you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
I like
it's
that.
Yeah, and then when you're all done, you just feel so high. You know, you're just like, yes, I'm up here today. You know.
That's great. Well, I think that is like it's a touch. We touch on our true spiritual nature when we do practices like yoga, meditation, and stuff like that. Because you figure we could have that all the time, but we're not really. In America, we're not raised that way or anything like that. So it's unfortunate. I think we're coming to an age where it's going to be more and more that way. I think we should be able to always be able to. I mean, because wouldn't it be great to always be in that state of mind where it's just wonderful?
Mm-hmm.
I think.
And you're doing the dishes to do the dishes.
Yeah, I mean, and you think about it, think, how can you do that? But you really can, and we get glimpses of it when we do these little practices and stuff. And you think, I'd always think, there's simple practices a lot of times that just make us hit that higher state of mind, and it amazes me.
Yeah. Well, it's just, it's kind of a moment of decision,
Mm-hmm.
every time. And it takes kind of a shock out of the continual running around in your head from one issue to the other. But it kind of takes a shock to get you out of it, but then you have the decision to get back right into that,
Mm-hmm.
or to rise
A
above it. And
lot of people are always up in their head, unfortunately. They're always the mind is racing and stuff, which I had the same problem, of course.
Yeah, I know.
Once we get out of that.
Well, me and a friend of mine a while ago were having a conversation on whether or not, like, a Buddhist monk would be suitable to drive in a car on the highway, because they're in the moment. But when you're driving, you have to feel like you have to anticipate things happening. What if that car would pull over? What that sort of thing. You have to be on alert all the time. And so we're kind of having this discussion on whether or not they would be suitable to drive.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, at the same time, that's the whole problem, is that we feel like we're in control. I'm controlling this car, I'm controlling my fate, I'm controlling how life runs, which is just, such an illusion.
Yeah, true.
And I suppose in those moments when we let go entirely, and let go of trying to, micromanage everything,
Mm-hmm.
is when we truly, release and feel the spirit. And so, perhaps that Buddhist monk would be much better driving on the highway than the rest of us.
Yeah, I would agree they would be, because they're actually more aware than
Than the people that
we are. Yeah, because we're thinking on the aspect of something could happen and we need to be aware of it. Where they're on the aspect of, if it happens, they'll allow it, and they just flow with it. Where we don't, we want to crash into stuff. Yeah, we don't. Well, a lot of times too is when you're driving. It's simple examples is when you're driving and stuff. Are the few times where even everyday people go into a Zen-like trance while they're driving. It's like you're driving home. You're like, how'd I get here? I'm here. What happened to the last 10 minutes of my drive? It's because your subconscious was taking over, and you were just somewhere else, and you just drove home, and it knew you were really in a higher state at that time, where people don't ever really think about it or notice it, but that's when they're in a deeper state, a deeper trance. It's just because they get hypnotized by the road. It's the same drive every day. It's just habit, and they get to go into a higher level without even knowing it. And now that I know that, I'm more aware of it when I get into those states. So I make sure, like, what I'm listening to is more appropriate. and stuff like that. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it has changed. That has changed my life by not going into those higher states and then listening to bad stuff, anything negative and stuff like politicians and all that kind of stuff. So now knowing that it's changed me. So.
Yeah, I think. Well, I know I get my best ideas in the car at night when you're just in Zen, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, it really loosens up the creative flow. I get all kinds of paintings and stuff in my head when I'm driving.
Now, when you're done driving and stuff, do you go home and do you remember them, or do you go home and draw them?
Yeah, like a lot of times, because I get images much faster than I can paint them.
No, yeah.
And so a lot of times I'll just do a quick sketch to remember the idea, and then later I'll probably be like, I don't really want to do that, and
No,
so I'll pick and choose between the ones that remain inspirational to me. But yeah, it's just oftentimes when you're not, because in the car you have no choice but to sit there
mm-hmm.
and just be.
Exactly.
And so I think that's when our mind opens up and allows creation
mm-hmm.
to work its magic. So
it does, yeah, because your mind is, after you drive a few years, it's become so much of a habit to be able to, your body, your subconscious can control everything that's going on, and you can just kind of let go, because if it's an automatic, you just put it in drive and you go, but you can't let your mind wander because you're so much of a habit of driving. You know how to stop and go, and you usually maybe you'll listen to the radio, or if it's quiet, and you kind of do zone out and just let things go. So it's a meditative practice, and people don't even know it.
You know what?
You do
and if people, I think a lot of people that aren't familiar with meditation and those sort of practices find it something very alien. And
yeah.
I suppose if that could be explained to them, that that feeling in your car when you zone out, that's meditation. See, no big deal.
Mm-hmm. That's what since I'm a hypnotist, that's what I tell people. I say, I've never been hypnotized. Well, have you ever drove a car? Yeah.
There you go.
You have been there. Oh, they don't realize it. And hopefully, when I say that, they're more aware of the things that they're doing. They're like you now that you know that you're driving and you can get these pictures and these inspirations while you're driving. It sounds like you utilize that by coming home and writing, drawing them up, and that's a really good technique in utilizing the time that you have in the car.
Yeah. Well.
Here's someone.
Yeah. We'll see if they remember the agreement we made.
They remember it.
We're just gonna test it and see if it actually holds true.
How is it, or where is it that you want to change the world, or what's your big goal?
Well,
right now your big goal, because it changes,
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Well, nothing short of changing the world, I guess.
and now, if you could change the world, what would you want it to change? What aspect of it would you want to change?
I just, I want people to feel, and I want to feel, that spirit at all times. I think we're getting there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a process. I just read something about the Hindu calendar life cycle or something like that. And everybody's talking about the Mayan calendar ends in 2012.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Well, according to the Hindus, we've got thousands of years left, so we're good.
Yeah.
But it talks about Autobiography of a Yogi by Yogananda, which is amazing, by the way. And he talks something about the evolution of humans, and they'll evolve to a state where we are, in spirit at all times, and completely at peace and one with God and everything. And then the world will be destroyed and we'll start all over. Just shoot, the cycle continues. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's really exciting the time that we're living in right now, because although people are getting a little caught up in it and letting it stress them out, I mean, just look at the focus of all our issues, or all these human rights that we're so concerned with, and animal rights, and worrying about the planet. And I mean, the basis of these things are compassion.
Yes.
And you know, that is such a high emotion, and I suppose that, you know, leaving this life better than when you entered into it is the ultimate goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think, I don't know how yet, or maybe I do, but just bringing people that, becoming more that myself, of being of love and compassion, you know, becoming like God, and showing others to do the same.
Very good.
Or I suppose just pointing in the right direction, I suppose.
Now, if I was as I am now sitting here with you, and I said,
Mommy, this one has sand all over it. This week has sand all over it.
Okay, I think I have to shut your door now, remember?
Mommy, I need to say this has sand all over it.
I'm sorry, why don't you take a sock that's in your room and clean it off? When you go back to your room, please shut the door behind you.
Okay.
Thank you. Wow, that worked out well. So.
Well, if we could all be in the mindset of children, it would help too. We lose that somewhere as we grow up.
Well.
I mean, it's one thing to see you, as you're an artist and stuff like that. So you stay in that imaginative state, which is a very powerful state. And that's a really good thing. I think a lot of the world loses that somewhere when they're growing up, and I think we need to keep a little bit of more of that imaginative
Well, I mean,
happiness
like
state.
my there are people, like my stepdad is a mechanic, and me and him, like, we just don't see the world as the same thing at all. And yet, at the same time, you know, we're both the world wouldn't be the same without him here,
Right.
and it wouldn't be the same without me. And we all hold a purpose. And although, excuse me, although, you know, some people find their bliss in painting, and some people find their bliss in fixing things and seeing the world in their logical mind. You know, it's funny because while we talk about everyone, here's the whole issue with compassion and wanting everyone to, you know, have their place, have their equal place. And then some people get so caught up in people having their equal place that they end up persecuting others.
Yes. Yes.
Which is such a sad cycle. But, you know, we're here to teach each other.
I totally agree with that. Yes.
And we couldn't all hold on to that imagination, I suppose, because then something else would be left out that they weren't accomplishing, you know?
Yeah, well, if I'm allowing my imagination to open up and I experience some of your imagination, I am learning. And then now my imagination can expound even more by learning what you have to give me. And if I was to come to you and said, Lenise, what, you know, since you want to change the world, be more happy and stuff, what could you give me, or what would you